Jamaica National Heritage Trust. They were incorporated in the 1980s. They're mandated to take care of the conservation of our heritage material culture. That includes the buildings and the artifacts of the island. My work with them and includes those areas where I'm engaged in consultancy in building preservation, and then work in archaeology, excavations, and so on. So I have to be in touch with them for permits to dig in archaeology. And in that case, I interface with their archaeology department, where I have to work in building preservation. I interface with their estate management section. And there's an organization that's quite busy. They always have a lot of work to do, more than perhaps they can effectively manage. But they manage somehow to keep things moving. And by and large, keep our material culture intact. And that's the work that all of us really have to help them with, because as an organization they can't do everything themselves. So we as individuals, as professionals in the field, have to support their effort at maintaining our material culture.
Well, I heard something about collectors, people that collect artifacts and store their homes with it. How do you feel about that?
Well, in Jamaica, you can legitimately be a collector. What you can't do legitimately is export your artifacts. For you to do that, you need to get permission, and oftentimes the JNHT will only give permission in a case where you're sending the artifacts off for research purposes, and the artifacts will be returned. Normally. I'm saying normally only because sometimes artifacts are sent for dating, and the process may be such that they're destroyed because of the nature of the dating process, and in which event, of course, you could not expect them to be retrieved or to be returned to the island. But these things are considered when permission is being granted for export of artifacts. But by and large, export for sale, that's certainly out of the question. But yes, in Jamaica, you're permitted to collect. People who own property on which a site is located, the artifacts belong to them, and so it's their prerogative if they themselves want to keep these artifacts after somebody like myself excavates. But of course, there's usually a period when the excavator is allowed to study whatever he has collected, he or she. So yeah, well, as far as collectors are concerned, in Jamaica perhaps they have a very fine collection in some cases. In some cases as well, there may be artifacts that may or may not be genuine, and not quite what perhaps one would hope would be reflective of authentic artifacts. But then I only raise that because of the possibility of there being artifacts around that are fabricated in more recent times and perhaps made to look like authentic and early pieces. There may be such around. So a little word of warning to the collectors who are arbitrarily picking up and purchasing pieces, that they need to exercise caution, as you would in any culture, because everywhere in the world there are people who are collectors and who need to be aware of what they're collecting. Usually they want to collect genuine pieces, and sometimes they may be hoodwinked. But I'd love to see collectors, responsible collectors, and they exist, of course, and people who will share their pieces in exhibitions, so others will have the advantage of seeing what Jamaican pre-Columbian people were like, what they used, the implements they used, and sort of get some sense of the history of our country from that.